On a faraway planet, under the glow of two pale moons, the village of Zarkal was quiet, but a dark secret stirred beneath its calm. The villagers moved silently, carrying torches that flickered like tiny stars. Their faces were solemn, eyes fixed on the ancient stone temple at the village center. Tonight was not an ordinary night. It was the night of the ritual. In the center of the temple, a deep pit had been dug, its walls smooth and polished. The villagers whispered prayers to the old gods, their voices low and trembling. The air was heavy with fear and anticipation. Only a few dared to look directly at the pit. At the bottom, a pale, fragile figure trembled in chains, a young alien girl with shimmering blue skin and silver hair that glowed faintly in the moonlight. Her eyes were wide with terror. She did not understand why she was here, why she had been chosen, or what awaited her. The elders of Zarkal circled the pit, their robes flowing in the cold night wind. Their leader, an old alien with eyes like molten gold, raised his staff high. "The gods demand a sacrifice," he announced, his voice echoing through the silent village. "Only this offering can bring rain to our lands and protect us from the darkness beyond." The girl's small hands shook as she tried to struggle, but the chains held her firmly. Her heart raced and every instinct screamed for her to run, but the walls of the pit were high and the villagers' eyes were unblinking. She was trapped. From the shadows, a man watched. He was not of this world. His skin was pale, and his eyes reflected both curiosity and horror. He had arrived on Zarkal searching for knowledge of distant planets, but now he was witnessing something that made his blood run cold. A living being, innocent and fragile, was about to be buried alive. He knew he had to act, but even thinking of interfering was dangerous. The V-Go-O. The loggers had weapons and powers he did not understand. The girl cried out, a sound that pierced the cold night air. Her voice echoed against the stone walls, and some villagers shifted nervously, but no one stopped the ritual. The elders began chanting, words older than anyone could remember, their meaning lost to time, but their power still strong. The wind howled as if the planet itself mourned, carrying the chants across the empty plains. The man's heart pounded. He had seen rituals before, read about sacrifices in ancient texts, but never one so cruel and final. He could see the girl's fear, her trembling body, and her eyes, so full of life, so innocent, haunted him. He stepped closer, careful not to make a sound, hiding behind jagged rocks. Every movement he made could be fatal if discovered. As the chanting grew louder, the girl's eyes searched desperately for a way out. She saw nothing, only the cold stone walls, the ropes that bound her, and the sky above, uncaring and distant. She whispered a plea, a soft hope that someone, anyone, would come for her. The elders lifted her from the chains and carried her toward the pit. She struggled, but her strength was weak. The crowd watched silently, some with fear, others with blind obedience. The man clenched his fists. His mind raced with plans, but the danger was real. If he failed, both of them could die. Finally, the girl was lowered into the pit. The dirt was cold and damp, pressing against her back. She tried to scream, but the wind swallowed her cries. From the edge of the pit, the elders began to fill it with soil. The first handfuls fell, covering her legs. She kicked and clawed, trying to hold on to the stones, but the weight of the earth grew heavier with each passing second. Above, the villagers murmured their prayers. "For the gods, for the rain, for the protection of Zarkal," they whispered, as if repetition. The words made them stronger, but the man in the shadows did not whisper. His mind was sharp, focused entirely on her. He could not let this happen, not here, not now. The girl gasped as the soil reached her waist. Panic clawed at her chest. She had never felt such fear. Her breaths came in short, desperate gasps, and she could feel herself sinking deeper into darkness. Her mind raced. "I do not belong here. I am not meant for this." Then he acted. Without thinking of the consequences, the man stepped out from his hiding place. He ran toward the pit, moving faster than any human should. The villagers shouted in alarm, but he did not stop. He grabbed handfuls of soil, throwing them aside with raw strength fueled by fear and determination. The girl looked up at him, her wide eyes meeting his. In that moment, something passed between them, a silent promise of survival. The man's heart pounded, but he knew one truth. He could not let her die here. Not like this. The soil continued to fall, the night seemed darker and the chants louder, but in the pit, two lives now depended on each other. And the story of the helpless alien girl buried alive and the man who dared to fight the gods had only just begun. The night was colder than usual on Zarkal, and the wind carried a strange electric hum that made the trees sway unnaturally. In the shadows, the man watched the village from the edge of the forest. His heart was still racing from the horrifying scene he had witnessed, the helpless alien girl buried alive, a victim of a ritual older than anyone could remember. But something else kept him rooted to the spot, a deep, gnawing feeling that this girl was not ordinary. He had come to Zarkal for research, for exploration, to learn about alien civilizations. He had expected strange customs, odd creatures, maybe even danger. But nothing had prepared him for this. His mind replayed the scene over and over, the soft glow of her skin, the silver strands of her hair catching the moonlight, her wide, terrified eyes. He could not forget them, nor to Jan. He sound of her faint pleas for help. From the shadows he saw movement near the village entrance. Two villagers, cloaked in the same ritual robes, were talking in hushed voices. Their hands trembled slightly, their eyes darting to the temple. One whispered, "Do you think the gods will accept her?" The other shook its head. "The elders decide. We do not question them." The man felt a chill. Even those who were part of the ritual feared it. The power of the elders, the weight of tradition, it was real and dangerous. He realized that stepping in would not only be a physical challenge, but a political one. Any wrong move, and the villagers would turn on him instantly. But he could not ignore the girl. The thought of leaving her buried alive made his chest tighten painfully. He tightened his fists and whispered to himself, "I have to save her. I have to." The forest around him seemed alive, whispering secrets he could not understand. Shadows stretched like hands, reaching for him, as if warning him to stop. Yet he moved forward. Every step he took closer to the village was a step deeper into danger. His boots crunched on the dry leaves and his breath fogged in the cold night air. Meanwhile, in the temple pit, the girl had managed to clear some of the dirt from her face. Her lungs burned with each breath, and her hands ached from clawing at the soil. But when she saw a shadow move near the edge, her heart leapt. Someone was there. Someone, human or alien, was watching her. Could it be help or another enemy? The man knelt at the edge of the pit, trying to assess the situation. He saw her small form struggling beneath the earth. He had no tools, no allies, just his hands and determination. And yet, for some reason, he felt that he could reach her in time. But first, he had to figure out how to get past the villagers. He scanned the area and noticed a narrow path behind. The temple covered by thick vines. He could sneak along it and reach the pit without being seen. His mind raced with every possible scenario. The villagers might notice him. The girl might panic further, or the pit could collapse. But hesitation could mean death. He swallowed hard and decided action was the only choice. As he moved along the path, the wind carried strange whispers. He froze. The voices were not human. They were low, vibrating tones, almost musical. The air shimmered slightly, and he felt a tingling sensation run across his skin. He realized, with a mixture of fear and awe, that this place was not ordinary. There was something alive in the ground, something ancient and powerful. He shook off the fear and continued. Finally, he reached the edge of the pit. The girl's eyes widened when she saw him. Her lips moved, forming a word he could not hear over the chanting of the villagers. But her look said everything. "Help me." The man knelt beside her, his hands brushing against the cold soil. He could feel the warmth of her skin through the dirt, and it gave him a strange, urgent energy. He started pulling the earth away, careful not to hurt her. Each handful was heavy, but he did not stop. Every moment was precious. Above, the villagers noticed the disturbance. One of them shouted, pointing toward the pit, "Intruder!" The others turned quickly, their eyes scanning the shadows. The chanting faltered as panic spread. Some villagers reached for their weapons, others froze in fear. The man's heart pounded harder. He realized they were not only fighting against time, but also against every living being in the village. The girl reached out a trembling hand, gripping his arm. Who are you?" she asked in a small, shaky voice. "I'm here to get you out," he replied, keeping his voice low. "Don't worry, I won't let them hurt you." Her eyes filled with tears, and she nodded weakly. But as he pulled another handful of soil, a sudden sound made them both stop. A branch snapped somewhere behind them, and they knew the villagers were closing in fast. The man took a deep breath. He did not know if they could escape, but he had no choice. If they stayed, she would die. If he tried and failed, they would both die. He clenched his jaw and whispered, "Hold on, I will not let anything happen to you." And in that moment, under the cold light of the twin moons, the fate of the helpless alien girl and the human man became intertwined. The night was far from over, and the dangers were only beginning. The wind howled through the alien forest, carrying the scent of strange, metallic flowers that glowed faintly in the darkness. The man crouched behind a jagged rock, his chest heaving from the narrow escape. Beside him, the alien girl shivered, her silver hair sticking to the dirt on her face. Her glowing blue skin reflected the faint moonlight, making her look almost otherworldly. She was trembling, not just from the cold, but from fear and exhaustion. The man's mind raced. He had saved her from the pit, but that was only the first step. The village was not far behind. The villagers were not ordinary. They had power, weapons, and a loyalty to the ritual that made them dangerous. If they caught him, there would be no mercy. He needed a plan. He whispered, "We need to move carefully. They will search for us." The girl nodded, but her eyes were wide, filled with questions she could not speak. He could sense her fear, her disbelief that someone, anyone, would risk so much for her. She was fragile, yes, but there was something about her, something strong beneath the surface, something that seemed almost magical. The man had studied the terrain earlier in his exploration. He knew of an old network of tunnels beneath the temple, abandoned long ago, but still intact. If they could reach those tunnels, they might have a chance to escape. But getting there would not be easy. The path was open, with little cover, and a nigh mistake could be fatal. He scanned the forest, noticing movement in the shadows. The villagers had split into groups, searching every corner, their glowing eyes pierced. The darkness and the faint hum of their power made the hairs on his neck stand on end. They were relentless. He took a deep breath. "We move now," he said, grabbing her hand. She flinched but did not pull away. Together they dashed through the trees, moving as silently as possible. Branches scratched their skin, and roots threatened to trip them, but neither stopped. Every second counted. Suddenly, a loud shout echoed behind them. One of the villagers had spotted them. The man's heart raced. They were faster than he expected, and their weapons glowed with deadly energy. The chase was on. He pulled the girl into a narrow gap between two rocks. They pressed against the cold stone, holding their breath. From their hiding spot, they could see the villagers running past, scanning the area. The man's mind worked quickly. If they tried to run straight to the tunnels, they would be caught. He needed a distraction. He glanced around and spotted a cluster of glowing plants nearby. With a swift motion, he kicked them toward the villagers. The plants exploded in a shower of sparks and light, momentarily blinding the pursuers. The man seized the chance. "Run!" he shouted. They sprinted toward the hidden entrance of the tunnels, their feet pounding against the alien soil. The entrance was small, barely noticeable beneath a thick curtain of vines. He pulled the girl inside and they crawled into the darkness. The air was cool and damp, filled with the smell of ancient stone. She hugged herself tightly, her teeth chattering. Inside the tunnels, the man paused to catch his breath. "We're not safe yet," he said. "We have to keep moving." The girl looked at him, her wide eyes searching his face. Why are you helping me?" she whispered. He hesitated. "Because no one deserves to die like that. Because I can't let it happen." Her lips trembled and she nodded slowly. She died. I'd not understand him completely. Her language and his were different, but she understood his intention. Someone was finally on her side. As they moved deeper into the tunnels, strange markings on the walls glowed faintly. They were symbols, ancient and powerful. The man touched them lightly, feeling a vibration in the stone. "These tunnels, they are older than the village itself," he whispered. "Something tells me they were built for more than just hiding." The girl followed him silently, her curiosity growing despite her fear. She noticed the subtle glow around the stones seemed to respond to her presence. Her small hands brushed the walls, and the light pulsed softly under her touch. She gasped. Could it be her power? They had almost reached the far end of the tunnels when a loud crash echoed from above. The villagers had discovered their path and were searching the tunnels. The man's pulse quickened. He could hear their footsteps, their chants blending with the echoing walls. He grabbed the girl's hand and ran faster. Every turn in the tunnels was a risk. They could be trapped at any moment. The walls seemed to close in, and shadows danced in the flickering light from their hands. The air grew thicker, almost alive, as if warning them to turn back. Finally, they emerged into a cavern, vast and empty, illuminated by strange crystals embedded in the walls. The girl's eyes widened. The place felt ancient, untouched, and alive. She realized they were not just escaping. They had stumbled upon something much bigger than either of them could imagine. The man knelt beside her, catching his breath. "We made it this far," he said, "but we can't stop. They will keep coming." She looked around, her fear slowly giving way to determination. "Then we run," she said softly, her voice steady for the first time. He smiled faintly, seeing a spark of courage in her eyes. To get in us. Her, they pressed on, deeper into the unknown, unaware that their escape had already begun to awaken something far older and far more powerful than either of them could understand. The cavern stretched endlessly before them, a hollow of glowing crystals that pulsed like quiet heartbeats. The man and the alien girl paused for a moment, catching their breath. The air was thick, damp, and smelled faintly of ozone, making their lungs burn. Every sound, dripping water, shifting stones, even their own heartbeat, echoed like thunder in the silent cavern. The girl's silver hair hung in damp strands across her pale blue face. Her glowing skin, once a comfort to the man in the darkness, now seemed fragile and faint. She trembled, fear clawing at her chest, not just from the pursuit of the villagers, but from the unknown ahead. She had never seen anything like this cavern, and the strange energy that seemed to hum in the walls unnerved her. Are we safe?" she whispered, her voice quivering. The man shook his head slowly. "Not yet," he replied. "They're still searching. And this place, I don't know what's in here. But we have to keep moving." They pressed forward cautiously. The crystals in the walls glowed brighter as they approached, reacting to their presence. The girl noticed it immediately. She hesitated, touching the wall with her fingertips. The glow pulsed stronger, almost like it was breathing. She gasped and pulled her hand back. It's alive," she said softly. The man glanced at her. "Alive? How?" "I don't know," she admitted, "but it feels connected to me." Her eyes widened as she realized something terrifying. "Maybe it knows me." The man frowned. "Knows you? What do you mean?" Before she could answer, the ground beneath them trembled. Dust and small stones fell from the cavern's ceiling, and the faint hum in the walls became a low, vibrating roar. The man's instincts screamed danger. Something ancient, powerful, and aware was stirring. The girl's eyes widened with fear, and she clutched his arm. I think it's waking up, but because of me." He steadied her. "We can't panic. We need to keep moving." They continued, but the cavern seemed to shift around them. Shadows stretched unnaturally, and the glowing crystals cast shapes that danced like living creatures. Every turn of the path brought a new fear. The man could feel the tension building, the weight of the unknown pressing on them from all sides. Suddenly, a figure appeared ahead. At first, it looked like a shadow, but as they drew closer, the man realized it was human-shaped, an alien human, yet unlike any villager he had seen. Its eyes glowed like molten gold, and its movements were swift and deliberate. The figure blocked their path, standing tall and unmoving. The girl froze. Who is that?" she whispered. The man's mind raced. He had not seen this being before. It was not one of the villagers. Its presence radiated authority, power, and judgment. He stepped slightly in front of the girl, a protective instinct rising in him. "Stay back," he called, his voice echoing in the cavern. The figure did not respond. It tilted its head slightly as if studying them, then stepped closer. The girl's fear became palpable. She pressed herself against the man, her small frame shaking. I can't move," she stammered. "You can," he said firmly, gripping her shoulders. "But you have to trust me. We face it together." The figure's glowing eyes focused on the girl. A sound, low, melodic, and almost like a voice but not quite, filled the cavern. The girl gasped and fell to her knees, clutching her chest. The man dropped to one knee beside her, unsure whether to shield her or confront the unknown being. "It knows me," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. It knows what I am." The man's mind raced. "What are you?" he asked gently, though his voice carried urgency. I don't know," she admitted, shaking her head. "I've always felt different, like something inside me, something powerful, but I never understood it. Not until now." The figure moved closer, and the pulsing crystals flared brighter, casting blinding light across the cavern. The girl's hands lifted instinctively, and the light seemed to respond, swirling around her like a shield. The man shielded his eyes, amazed and terrified at the display. The shadowy figure stopped and lowered its arms. Then, in a voice that was both gentle and commanding, it spoke. "You are more than you know. Your fear must not control you, or you will lose everything." The girl's eyes widened, and she whispered, I don't know if I can." The man placed a hand on her shoulder. "You can. You have to. I'm with you." For a long moment, the cavern was silent, except for the soft hum of the glowing crystals. The girl's breathing slowed, and the strange energy seemed to settle around her. The man could feel her resolve growing, fragile but real. Finally, she stood, her glowing hands trembling but steady. I will try," she said. The figure nodded once and stepped back into the shadows, disappearing as silently as it had appeared. The crystals dimmed, leaving the cavern lit by faint ambient glow. The man exhaled slowly. That was too close. The girl nodded, her fear replaced by a cautious determination. I understand now, she said softly. I have to face it. I can't run anymore. The man looked at her with a mixture of awe and relief. Then let's keep moving. We're not safe yet, but we're stronger than we think. Together they pressed deeper into the cavern, knowing that the darkness still held dangers beyond their imagination. The journey ahead was uncertain, and fear would face them again. But now, they faced it together, and neither would be helpless again. The cavern ended abruptly at a steep slope, leading into a narrow tunnel that twisted like a serpent through the heart of the mountain. The man and the alien girl paused at the edge, listening. The sound of footsteps echoed behind them. The villagers were close, relentless, and now they knew the girl had escaped. We have to move fast, the man whispered, gripping her hand tightly. If they catch us here, there's no hope. The girl nodded, her silver hair glinting faintly in the dim light. Her glowing blue skin pulsed with nervous energy. She had never run like this before, and fear threatened to overwhelm her. But she felt a strange strength inside her, a quiet hum that seemed to guide her steps. Together they plunged into the twisting tunnel. The walls were slick with moisture, and sharp rocks scraped their arms and legs. Each step was dangerous, but neither stopped. Every sound, the distant footsteps, the occasional drip of water, echoed like a drumbeat of danger. Suddenly, the ground beneath them shifted. A small section of the tunnel collapsed, sending dust and pebbles crashing down. The girl stumbled, and the man caught her just in time. Hold on, he shouted, pulling her to her feet. Her heart raced, but she kept moving. I won't fall, she said, trying to sound braver than she felt. As they ran, the tunnel split into multiple paths. The man paused, trying to recall the map of the underground he had studied before. This way, he decided, pointing toward the path with faint glowing moss on the walls. It's safer, and it will lead us closer to the forest outside. The girl followed, her hand tight in his. But the villagers were not far behind. Their voices echoed in the tunnels, chanting, angry and sharp. The man could feel the energy of the pursuers like a storm pressing in from all sides. Then, without warning, the tunnel opened into a vast cavern filled with strange bioluminescent plants. The walls shimmered with green and purple light, and the air was heavy with a sweet, almost intoxicating scent. The girl stopped for a moment, awe replacing fear, but the man urged her on. Don't sin up, he said, his eyes scanning the shadows. They can still see us. They moved quickly, but the villagers had caught up. One of them raised a weapon that glowed with deadly energy, and the air around it hummed. The man grabbed the girl and ducked behind a massive glowing root. The light from the root cast shadows across the cavern, giving them a chance to hide. Stay close, the man whispered. We have to be smart. The girl nodded, her glowing hands brushing against the roots. Something inside her stirred, a subtle pulse of energy that made the plants around her sway. The man noticed it. Do you feel that? He asked. Yes, she whispered. I think I can make it move. Before he could respond, the villagers shouted again and charged forward. The girl extended her hands, concentrating on the bioluminescent plants. The roots twisted and rose like living snakes, forming a barrier between them and the pursuers. The villagers stumbled, shocked as the plants blocked their path. The man's eyes widened. Incredible, but we have to keep moving. Using the momentary distraction, they dashed toward a narrow exit at the far end of the cavern. The tunnel beyond led upward, sloping steeply toward the surface. Dust and pebbles fell as they climbed, and the girl struggled with exhaustion. The man kept his pace steady, encouraging her. Almost there, he whispered. Just a little more. Above them, the forest they had fled from stretched under the twin moons. The man could see the silver leaves and the soft glow of the alien night. They were close, but the villagers were relentless. One of them had followed them into the cavern and now began climbing after them, faster than he thought possible. The man reached the final slope and hoisted the girl up onto his shoulders. Her small form clung to him, trembling but determined. Hold on, he shouted, running the last few meters. They burst out of the tunnel into the cool night air. The forest embraced them, shadows and light playing across the trees. The villagers stopped at the edge, unable or unwilling to enter the forest fully. Their shouts echoed faintly, angry but powerless. The girl slid off the man's shoulders, breathing heavily. We made it, she whispered, disbelief and relief mixing in her voice. The man nodded, scanning the forest. For now, he said, but they will come again. We have to find a safe place, somewhere they cannot reach us. As they moved deeper into the forest, the girl felt a strange connection to the glowing plants around them. Her power hummed softly, responding to the life around her. She realized she was not just running to survive, she was learning, growing, and discovering something ancient and powerful inside herself. The man noticed the subtle changes in her energy. "I think you're stronger than you know," he said quietly. She looked at him, eyes wide. "I think I am starting to understand that," she admitted. The forest was vast, full of unknown dangers, but for the first time, the girl did not feel helpless. She was alive, free, and with someone who believed in her. Together, they would face whatever came next, even if the darkness still waited to catch them. Above them, the twin moons shone brightly, illuminating the path ahead. For now, they had escaped through darkness, but the journey was far from over. The forest stretched endlessly, a maze of silver-leaved trees and glowing moss. The man and the alien girl moved cautiously, every step alert to the slightest sound. Though they had escaped the village, the night still felt alive with unseen eyes. Every rustle of leaves, every shadow moving against the pale light of the twin moons made their hearts race. The girl's breathing was steady now, but she could feel a strange energy humming beneath her skin. It pulsed softly, like a heartbeat, and made the forest around her react. Flowers bent toward her, moss shimmered brighter, and small animals scuttled away as if sensing her awakening power. The man noticed the changes immediately. "You feel it too, don't you?" he asked, his voice low. She nodded. "Yes, I can feel everything. The forest, the plants, the life. It's like it's part of me." He studied her, awe and caution mixed in his eyes. "That's incredible. But it could be dangerous. If the villagers sense it, they will come after you harder than before." The girl looked down at her hands, glowing faintly in the moonlight. "I don't understand it fully, but I think I'm supposed to use it. I have to." They continued moving deeper into the forest. The path was uneven, lit only by the subtle glow of her skin and the occasional flicker of bioluminescent plants. Despite the danger, the girl felt a growing confidence. Every step was a small victory, a proof that she was more than the helpless captive they had tried to bury. Suddenly the man stopped. "Wait, listen." A faint humming sound drifted through the air, low and resonant. It was not natural, and it seemed to vibrate with the same rhythm as the energy inside the girl. Her eyes widened. "It's calling me," she whispered. The man looked around nervously. "Calling you? What do you mean?" I don't know," she admitted. "But I feel memories, places I've never been, people I've never met, and yet it feels familiar." As they approached a small clearing, the humming grew louder. In the center, a pool of crystal-clear water reflected the moons above. The girl stepped closer, drawn to it by an invisible force. The man stayed beside her, alert, watching the shadows. When her hands touched the water, it rippled, glowing with the same light as her skin. Images appeared on the surface, strange cities, ancient structures, and beings with features like hers, all bathed in silver light. Her eyes widened as she saw herself among them, running through the ruins of an ancient civilization. I remember," she whispered, voice trembling. "Not everything, but pieces. I belong to them. They were my people." The man's eyes widened. "Your Pia? You mean you're not just from this planet?" She shook her head, tears forming in her eyes. "No, I was brought here, taken as a child. The ritual, the village, they were never my home. I was supposed to be hidden, safe, but they found me." The man knelt beside her, placing a comforting hand on her shoulder. "Then this is why they wanted to bury you. They feared what you are, what you can do." Her glowing hands hovered above the water, trembling. "I think I have abilities, powers they didn't understand. I can feel energy, control it, maybe even protect myself and others." He studied her carefully. "This could change everything. If we use it wisely, we can survive. Maybe even fight back if we have to." The girl's face hardened with determination. "I won't be helpless anymore. I won't let anyone bury me alive or control me." The man nodded. "Good. But first, we need to understand it fully. You're strong, yes, but we have to be careful. You don't know your limits yet." She dipped her hands into the pool again, and the water shimmered like liquid light. She concentrated, and small waves of energy spread outward, touching the trees and plants. Each wave made the forest respond. Leaves lifted, flowers glowed, and vines twisted gently, as if acknowledging her presence. The man watched, amazed. "You're connected to this place. Maybe even the planet itself." The girl looked up at him, determination burning in her eyes. Then I'll use it. I'll protect myself, and anyone who cannot protect themselves. I won't be a prisoner ever again. A sudden rustle from the trees made them both freeze. Shadows moved, faster than any human or animal should be able to move. The villagers had found the forest entrance and were closing in. The man grabbed her hand. It's time to move. Use your power. Guide us. She nodded, her hands glowing brighter than ever. The forest seemed to respond to her unspoken command, clearing paths, hiding them, and slowing the pursuers. She was no longer the helpless girl buried alive. She was alive, strong, and awakening to her true purpose. As they ran, the man realized that the forest and the girl were connected in ways he could not yet understand. Together they had escaped the villagers, but now something far greater awaited them. The secrets of her past, her people, and the extraordinary power that could change the fate of worlds. The twin moons shone above, reflecting in her glowing eyes. She was no longer afraid. She was ready. The forest was alive with soft glowing light, shadows dancing across silver leaves. The man and the alien girl ran as fast as they could, weaving through twisted roots and glowing vines. Behind them, the distant shouts of the villagers echoed, growing louder and more urgent. They were relentless, but the girl no longer felt helpless. The strange energy inside her pulsed stronger than ever, guiding her steps. "We can't let them catch us," the man shouted, breath ragged. "Keep moving." The girl nodded. Her glowing hands brushed against the plants as they passed, and the vegetation seemed to respond. Roots twisted to form bridges over ravines, leaves shifted to hide their path, and small creatures scuttled out of their way, sensing her presence. She realized, with a thrill, that she was no longer just running, she was commanding the forest itself. Ahead, the terrain opened into a wide clearing. A faint mist rolled across the ground, and in the center, a massive ancient tree stood. Its trunk glowed faintly with silver light, and its branches stretched toward the moons above. The girl stopped, sensing something. This is it," she whispered. "This tree. It's like it's calling me." The man studied the tree carefully. "It looks ancient, maybe older than the village. It could be a safe place or a trap." Before they could move, the villagers appeared at the edge of the clearing, weapons raised, eyes glowing with anger and fear. The leader, and the elder with molten gold eyes, stepped forward. "You cannot escape," he shouted. "The girl belongs to the gods. Surrender now." The girl's hands glowed brighter, the energy inside her rising like a tide. She stepped forward, standing tall for the first time. "No!" she shouted, her voice echoing across the clearing. "I am not yours. I belong to myself." The man's heart pounded. He had never seen her so strong. "You can do this," he said quietly, standing beside her. "We'll face them together." The villagers charged. The man prepared to defend them, but the girl raised her hands, and the forest responded. Vines shot up from the ground, twisting and wrapping around the pursuers' legs. Glowing roots formed barriers, and the bioluminescent plants released blinding bursts of light. The villagers stumbled, their shouts turning to cries of confusion and fear. The girl felt the power flowing through her, stronger than ever. She closed her eyes and focused on the ancient tree in the center of the clearing. Energy surged from it, connecting with her own. The ground trembled, and a soft hum filled the air, resonating with the hearts of all living things around her. The villagers stopped in their tracks, stunned. They had never seen such power. The elder raised his staff, but the girl's energy formed a protective barrier around them. The light pushed them back, forcing them to retreat. One by one, they fell back, unable to advance. The man grabbed her hand. "It's working! You're controlling it!" The girl nodded, tears streaming down her face. I'm not afraid anymore." The elder looked around, realizing their failure. His eyes narrowed, and he whispered words that sounded like a curse, but the girl ignored him. She had finally understood her strength, her purpose, and her freedom. The forest quieted. The glowing plants dimmed slightly, as if acknowledging her victor. The man and the girl stood together in the center of the clearing, the twin moons shining down on them. They had survived. They had escaped the ritual, the villagers, and the darkness of fear that had tried to bury them. The girl looked at the man. "Thank you for saving me." He smiled softly. "No, you saved yourself. I only helped you see it." For the first time, she felt truly free. She was not just a helpless captive. She was strong, alive, and in control of her destiny. The forest around her seemed to pulse in approval, alive with the energy she now commanded. But even as they stood in triumph, the man sensed that their journey was far from over. The girl's powers were awakening. Her past was still a mystery, and the forces that had captured her might return. Yet he also knew one truth. Together, they could face whatever came next. The girl extended her hand, glowing softly, and touched the trunk of the ancient tree. Energy flowed through her, connecting her to the planet itself. She felt the memories of her people, the knowledge of her past, and a promise of future adventures. She was no longer alone. She was ready. The man looked at her with a mixture of awe and hope. "So, what now?" he asked. The girl smiled faintly, her eyes glowing with quiet determination. "Now, we survive. We learn, we grow, and we fight, if we must, but this time, on our own terms." The twin moons reflected in her eyes as she raised her hands to the sky. The forest glowed brighter, the clearing alive with energy and life. The man and the girl stood side by side, ready for whatever the universe might throw at them next. For the first time, the helpless alien girl was no longer a victim. She was alive, powerful, and free. And this was only the beginning.